Thank you. Thank you very much, Law, and thank you to the Tocqueville Foundation, Jean Guillaume, and in this amazing room in this amazing castle. See, quite an upgrade compared to last year's room. I won't be too long, but unfortunately, when the politicians say it won't be too long, actually it's going to be very long. So we have a panel afterwards, after my presentation. But as you said, Law, we since Washington we saw the first Trump mandate, and at the time I remember among the Europeans we had this kind of hope that it was just be intermission, an accident, and 4 years later we'll get back to normal. Everything will be back to normal. We have the usual transatlantic alliance as the US acting as a protector for Europe and the European values, which we don't see it on the long term. But I think 8 years later, you can see that things have changed. We can no longer look the other way, and we can see the current consequences in Europe, the aggression of Ukraine by Russia, and since 2014, and through Ukraine and the Ukrainian man fighting for their freedom and democracy, you see what's at stake is the security and safety of Europe, and see the interventions of Russia in our democratic processes, and so that in Moldova, in Romania, Russia tried to hijack the elections, and you see cyber attacks on our hospitals, our schools, see repeated threats against our borders and against the security architecture in Europe. And we have questions, obviously, on the transatlantic alliance and the American guarantees. We had a NATO summit in The Hague just a few days ago, and we see that the long-term trend that goes way beyond Donald Trump's personality, because when you talk about we work on a daily basis, we try to analyze the tweets and the analysis and so on, but Obama already mentioned that the Americans were pivoting towards the east, towards Asia, and we see that under Joe Biden we have the same protectionism. We and subsidies for American companies, and we see the unilateral withdrawal of America from Afghanistan, and obviously we already have tariffs. Not telling you that we're not living a different world with this administration, but it's a long-term trend, and thus we need to invest more in our sovereignty, in our protection, and we should be masters of our own future. Otherwise, other powers will write the history of Europe. Americans, Russia, China, and so on. And I'm sure you already mentioned this, but because the European Commissioner for Defense is here with us, and we talk very often together, and we need to invest massively in our own defense. We need to increase our budgets for defense. Under the two mandates of Emmanuel Macron, we multiply by 2 the budget for defense. We need to have more weapons, and on the European level, we need to be less dependent. While for drones, for satellites, and see how important Starlink is to support Ukraine. And we see some major breakthroughs and disruptions. We see some major breakthroughs for the SAFE and EDIP plan in Europe, defense, but also we need to invest in the competitiveness of Europe. But it's sometimes what's lacking when we talk about international affairs. But if we want to be relevant, if we want to be sovereign, from a global point of view, we need to support our companies, our innovators, anyone would like to take some risks, so we don't have to be dependent, so we have to depend on someone else for quantum computing and drones. In the years 2000, the Europe and the US had the same GDP, and now the GDP of the United States have increased by 30%, and productivity have soared. And we talk about the ingerences and the Russia trying to hijack our democratic processes. And why are we like this? Because most of the main digital stakeholders are for like TikTok from China, for X in the United States, spreading populism everywhere. If we don't want to be passive and let other people write our history, we have to fight back. We have to simplify our norms and standards. And this is what we are currently doing, and this is what we're doing with our partners, with the European Commission. We no longer want to have more regulations, but we want to simplify everything, all the rules and norms. We need to deepen our common markets. We have 27 types of regulations, 27 types of laws on stock markets, even though we have, it means that every year we have 300 billion euros of savings that are sent to the US to fund new startups in the US, and our startups need to have more money, more equity to fund them. Make sure that our unicorns and our innovators can have the necessary funds so they can be competitive on a global level. We are at the same level as Americans and Chinese.
Et je parlais de réarmement, mais au fond, le vrai sujet, c'est le réarmement moral de notre continent. C'est assumer d'être une...
It's to assume to be a strong political strength. We don't like to use this term, defend our interests. We always think that we have to defend universal values, a global project. We do have interests. We have borders to defend. We have identities to defend, a political project. And this requires to have strength relationship. We are under trade pressure from the Trump administration with the tax, with the customs law, which does not have any justification when we look at the relationship between Europe and the United States. And this requires us to stay united. It's not only an economic question, it's a test, a credibility test to show that we are able to defend our collective interests. I'm optimistic, otherwise I wouldn't be in politics, but we are accelerating this system of pressure. As Mr. De Poli said, we have a window of opportunity precisely to invest massively and to come out stronger, more united, more powerful of this momentum if we make the right decisions to accelerate, to invest in our own sovereignty. It's this historic test that is opening up is in the coming month to come, and you can count on us to carry it and to be at the level. Thank you very much.